even if I wanted to. My schedule wouldn't allow it. 4 o'clock, wallow in self-pity. 4:30, stare into the abyss. 5 o'clock, solve world hunger. Tell no one. 5:30, jazzercise. 6:30, dinner with me. I can't cancel that again. 7 o'clock, rest with my self-loathing. I'm booked.
Welcome back to the It's Definitely Been a Week Since the Last Episode You Must Be Imagining Things podcast. It is Christmas right now, and so in classical uni student fashion, I've left this till the very last minute. I'm driving home in 2 hours and leaving Jacob here in charge of the flat. Kuba, say hello, how are you?
Hi, not bad.
Good. Today we're going to be talking about Christmas films, and I think these, of like all films, are the most subjective.
Yes,
because
definitely.
they are very much built on what you grew up on. Is your list based on what you grew up on?
Yes, one in particular is sort of heavily influenced by my nationality. It's sort of a cult classic back home where I'm from.
Okay. As a Polish man,
Yes.
is it a Polish film?
It's not a Polish
It's not
film.
a Polish film, but it's a cult classic.
It's a cult classic.
Interesting. So, question number one, is Die Hard a Christmas film?
I knew this was coming up. Yes.
Okay, good. That's fine. That's fine. We can continue this conversation then, because people who say no are obviously just wrong or lying. And question two, I think, is we kind of have to park it here. I think, because it's not on my list, but I think It's a Wonderful Life is the Christmas film, purely because of longevity and how much it's been on and the amount of people that actually just love it. I think you kind of just have to accept that and park it there. But it's not on my list. Is it going to be in yours?
You see, before this, you told me that you thought it was best, end all,
Yeah.
So I agree with you that I think it's the ideal. It's what Christmas films should aspire to be.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life. But I don't know. It's not on my list.
Okay,
but
that's fine.
We can both agree that it is perhaps the best.
It's sort of the unwritten rule, I think, that you have to go with it. Everyone loves to choose or champion a single Christmas film, and everyone always seems very hacked off if you seem to think that theirs isn't the best or that theirs isn't very good. What I've kind of learned is that they are kind of just there to provide you with a bit of fun and help you get into the festive spirit. And so actually, people always have a go at me, and I'm going to talk about this in my first film, but people always have a go at me for picking apart films that are just meant to be nice little silly fun films and having issues with them. To which I say, yes, I am an asshole, but also I think it's worth evaluating these films on what they actually are, because if they're still just silly and nice and they're still rubbish, then, you're going to have to say that. I want to start with your number 3, so I want you to tell me what your third favourite Christmas film is.
I think you may have some problems with this.
Okay, let's get ready for an argument. Go.
It's Love Actually.
I get it. But talk to me about it.
It's a problematic film. I know it's several areas, but just the way it tells multiple stories, the feel-good nature of the film, I think, as you said, it gets you into that Christmas feeling.
Yeah.
And, Hugh Grant, Alan Rickman, Emma Thompson, it's just got plenty of great actors telling decent stories, and that's why I think it's a good Christmas film.
I get it. I like the fact that there are so many storylines. I do think that some of them just kind of drown out a little bit because there are so many. There are bits of it that I really like Hugh Grant dancing around number 10 is very funny. And Rowan Atkinson wrapping up the present is very funny. And actually Emma Thompson opening the CD and then going, the way she acts that and then just goes into the other room and starts crying, I'm like, oh, that's very sad. It is a problematic film for several reasons. It's Richard Curtis, so female agency is a slight problem. But you, to be fair, with Love Actually, you find most people thinking this, and that you just kind of think, I don't care. It's pretty wonderful, and it's a good laugh, and so I don't really care in this particular instance. There is lots good to be said about it. Have you ever considered watching it and then pausing it when it says 4 weeks to go, then waiting a week and then watching it when it says 3 weeks to go and pausing and doing it that way.
that would be mental.
So people do it like a Richard Curtis advent calendar. It's marvellous. Yeah, none of the women have any agency in it, but
You could say that for a lot
you
of
could
films.
say that for a lot of films. And to be honest, I completely understand why people like it, because the cast, as you say, is really good and it is funny. And he's got a big knob. I get it. It's just not a personal favourite of mine because I think I actually was quite late to Love Actually. And so to me, I heard a lot about it before I saw it. So I kind of had this hype level that was put upon it, which isn't the film's fault at all. But I didn't think it really sort of met that. I think a lot of it's fairly straightforward, and I think the whole thing with Keira Knightley is incredibly dodgy. But I get it. No, I like. It's not a bad choice, and it's much better than some of the things you could have put in, like The Holiday or Last Christmas.
No chance. No chance.
Okay, right. Fine.
What about yourself?
For me, at number 3, I've gone for Nativity.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
No, I can't begrudge you there.
The reason I've gone, it's written and directed by Debbie Izzet. Yes, it is. Sorry. Again, like Love Actually, it's a great cast. Martin Freeman, Mark Wootton, Jason Watkins, Ashley Jensen. I'm going to come back to her in a bit. Pam Ferris and Alan Carr for funny. I think I could genuinely put the first or the second Nativity film into this list.
You think the one with David Tennant?
This is what I was going to say. I'll talk about the second one first because I've got more to say about the first one. But the second one is slightly less straightforward when it comes to the story it's telling and the charm that it's bringing to you. But it does have David Tennant twice, which I think is really funny. I love how contrasted his characters are. It's got an equally sweet plot line. But the reason I'm going to put the first one in is because actually the first film is a far more personal film. The main point I'm going to make with it is that it's pure joy from start to finish, but sometimes films which star an adult acting like a child really bug me, like the start of Benjamin Button, or Big, or maybe a different film that's set around this time of year with a man who's currently in an Asda. But in this case, the rest of the film is built around the innocence of the children, and it's less about the adult trying to fit into the adult world when he is in fact a child. Obviously, there's an element of that, but because of the setting of the primary school, that kind of goes away and it sort of floods into a story about Martin Freeman's character coping with it all. I think those films don't work because you can't throw a 5-year-old into a work environment and expect them to function. But this is essentially just the School of Rock, but for a nativity play.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Were you in a nativity play?
Basically in junior school. Well, the juniors did like a Christmas Carol thing, and if you were an infant, year 1, year 2, you were in a nativity play. Although I wasn't very good, so I ended up being a sheep.
A sheep.
So not exactly the highbrow roles of yourself.
You say this. I was given the role of the narrator, right? Because there's now narrators in this story. But they didn't trust us to learn anything, so we had the scripts on the night, which slightly devalued the production. But what was worse was that the narrators were where all the gags were. So there was 2 of us, and I appeared to have been given absolutely nothing that was very funny. And the one bit that I did get that was funny, I stood up and I was proud. I was ready to go. I was ready to fly. And 3 babies all at once started crying just as I got to the punchline. So nobody heard a bloody thing. It sort of put me off doing stand-up ever, because if 3 babies are going to kill me off, then, I think several people shouting your might be even worse. Yeah, Martin Freeman is an instant recipe for yes, mate, to me. If you haven't seen Responder, it's on iPlayer. That is incredible. He's unbelievable in that. He's doing a Liverpool accent, and you wouldn't be able to tell that it was him. It's giddy and it's funny, and it deserves to be on the TV as much as it is. And I get why people get overexhausted with it, because it refuses to fuck off British TV in December. But I'm not that mad. It does seem to be on every year, though, doesn't it?
I mean, some films you just got to.
It feels like one of those ones where you just kind of have to. This is where I'm going to have a go at people that go, ooh, you make everything, analyse it like a cinematic masterpiece. Like, look, this isn't Inception. But it's still bloody wonderful, and I still love it. And, you know, the direction largely doesn't have much to do with why I do. It's very, very straightforward.
Like, for Christmas films, I think it's less about the technical aspects of the films. Like, you focus on, I don't know, say, a modern film, The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah.
You focus on why that's well made, because it's just bloody fantastic in all aspects. But you don't focus as... It's more the feelings a Christmas film gives you, I think, at least. That's what I want to feel when watching a Christmas film.
I think that is the perfect way to go into a Christmas film. Tell me your second favourite Christmas film, Cubes.
Home Alone.
Okay, I thought this would crop up. Fire away on Home Alone.
It's just... This is the film that I was talking about earlier when it's a cult classic.
Okay.
I was brought up on this. In Poland, every year, you watch it.
What is Home Alone called in Poland?
Kevin Sam w domu, which simply means Kevin Home Alone.
Okay.
So, it's not like in French where the thing's completely bloody different.
Yeah.
But continental Europe has a weird thing with renaming these films. I don't know why. It just happens. Just let it happen.
People, to be fair, if it was called Parents Home Alone, I don't think as many people would watch it.
No. Yeah. No, basically, it's just... As a Polish person, you watch this film every year. It is on terrestrial Polish television. 5 million people watch this on that every year, which is an eighth of the Polish population.
Crikey.
So it's very popular. It's cult. It's funny. It's great. You gotta watch it.
You do have to watch it. Now, I've got a confession to make here, which is that I hadn't seen Home Alone until I was... Ooh, how old would I have been? Must have been in 2018, the first time I saw it. So I would have been, what's that, 15?
Yeah.
15, 16. And the first time I did ever see it, there was an orchestra playing the music to it.
Interesting.
I saw it at the Sage in Gateshead, and there was the full orchestra and a choir below it doing the music as it was going on.
That must be the bougiest bloody performance of
Yes. It's a slightly odd way to be introduced to a film that's been on 28 billion DVDs. But I thought it was really sweet, and I can see why it gets people in the mood for Christmas. The more I watch it, though, the more I do just think, Joe Pesci, he's dead, surely. An iron has struck this man in the head, and he's just like, what you want? Go get him, ah!
You've got to suspend your belief, because obviously, Joe Pesci, it would kill a normal man. Let's be real here. But the overacting of Joe Pesci is what I think lends it to it.
Yeah.
And he talks about it later on, like in the 90s, that part of why he overacted is because he thought the film wouldn't be that much of a success. He thought it would bomb.
Right.
So, and I think, he did that, maybe out of a belief that the film wasn't great, but I think it adds to it in the end.
I think you're probably right. I would have, as the Irishman comes to Home Alone, I think the sad thing that comes out of it is Macaulay Culkin.
Why?
Because he spiraled very, very dramatically. I mean, maybe Donald Trump will do that to anyone, but
child actors,
child actors. I mean, this is a problem. This is why this list is going to be so mashy and subjective, is because I, as I say, came to Home Alone very late, and so it's not the kind of film that I've been with my whole time. But the fact that it is such a thing in Poland, I quite like.
It's for the weirdest reason as well.
Go on.
Like, it came out early 1990s, yeah?
Yeah.
So, basically, after the fall of the USSR and communism,
Yes.
I know...
This is symbol of our new identity.
Basically, we were gagging for everything American. There were queues outside Mackey's.
Right.
It was weird days. And the generation that was born just before saw Home Alone and thought, yes, America. And basically, ever since then, it's just been a thing. It's just been a tradition. Yeah. And in 2010, when one channel held the rights to Home Alone and decided not to show it, there was such an internet uproar, so many petitions were sent in, so much abuse was hurled at this company that they were forced to put it back on.
You're joking.
Nope, look it up.
People campaigned to get home because they not just watch it on another channel.
No, well, that channel held the rights for Home Alone.
Right.
So if they didn't show it, it'd be no one.
Oh, God.
So people successfully, I don't know if this is one of the first instances of people using the internet to campaign to get something, but it's got to be up there.
As Macaulay Culkin throwing marbles on the floor became a symbol for democratic freedom.
You take what you can get, is all I'm going to say.
That's amazing. I saw a tweet the other day it said, Chekhov's gun is a device whereby if a tarantula is introduced in a film, it will end up on a burglar's face. It's born from this, isn't it? No, I like Home Alone. I think it's very sweet. I think they actually managed to do quite a lot with what could be quite a thin premise.
Yeah.
I will say this. It's not my favourite get to the airport and realise something's not there story. There is an episode of Outnumbered where the family are coming back from a holiday in Spain and they get to the airport, I think 4 or 5 hours early and realise that they've got that amount of time to kill because their flight gets delayed. And they go through this whole thing, and Ben has coffee. Ben has a double espresso, and then of course goes absolutely mental. Sue gets depressed the whole time. The granddad is walking around like he doesn't even know what's going on. Karen is trying to work out who is a terrorist and who isn't. You know, it's an eventful few hours in this airport, right? And then Ben tries to smuggle a knife through security. But at the end of it, they just about miss the gate closure, and then they start pleading with the woman at reception. Please, can you just open the gate, please, for me? And she goes, "Oh, fine. Just for you. There's just the one time this can't happen again. Okay, go. I've asked the pilot to hold it. Just go. Run now." And they go, right, okay, let go. And they'll go through. And about 10 seconds later, the camera is still in like the waiting lounge.
Yeah.
And the granddad walks out of the bathroom and just goes, "Sue." So the episode ends. The bit where she gets to the airport and goes, "Kevin!" Really, it reminds me of that big time. Okay, we just had a discussion about not deconstructing Christmas films like they're cinematic masterpieces, but I'm about to deconstruct a Christmas film like it's a cinematic masterpiece, because my number 2 is sitting on the wall behind you. It's A Nightmare Before Christmas. There's a lot of debate. Is this a Halloween film? Is it a Christmas film?
See, I had this debate last year with my flatmate.
Yeah.
She said it was a Halloween film. So
right.
Already there are cracks in your list.
It's both. You could put it on in either setting for me, and I'm going to be a very, very happy man.
Yeah.
I think Tim Burton's a genius. This looks absolutely like spectacular in every single scene. It's made to look genuinely beautiful, but not only that, it's in the midst of a funny, sweet and enjoyable musical story. There is a real emphasis on getting the atmosphere of each holiday season right, and I think they nail it. I literally don't understand the hatred for the film. It seems to be emanating around the arseholes of the world, because for me, it perfectly encapsulated Halloween and Christmas.
People don't like Nightmare Before
People
Christmas.
really don't like the Nightmare Before Christmas for some reason.
I've never realised there were such strong feelings.
I know. I just thought everyone thought it was wonderful, and that was it. It's just, also, at its heart, it is just a love story, and it's just another wonderful spin on a classic love story. So all the best films are very, very simple at heart. Here's a question. You've seen Inception, right?
Yes.
Okay. What are they trying to do in Inception?
I have no bloody clue.
Okay. That's because it's really simple, and you think that it's really complicated, but it's not. They are trying to make Cillian Murphy's character change his mind about a business decision. That's it. And they use a dream machine where you can go deeper into different layers of dreams. That is all you need to know about Inception. People go, "Oh, it's too clever. Oh, it's too clever." No, it knows what it's doing. It's trying to be too clever. But it fucking isn't. Are you watching the same film? It's so straightforward, but there's just this massive sort of world built around that premise.
Yeah.
And this is exactly like that. This is just a love story, but it happens to take place in a world where one can move from the land of perpetual Halloween to that of perpetual Christmas.
Yeah.
Some great songs which serve their purpose perfectly, and this is the main point I actually wanted to make with this. I think this has some of the most iconic character design of any film ever.
That's a bold claim.
So much so that people's vocabulary is buggered, because people say, I say people who haven't seen the word many times, but people say Skellington when they mean skeleton because of Jack Skellington.
I've never heard anybody in my life.
You've never heard anyone say Skellington?
Skellington.
You must have been watching some awful piece of television and someone says Skellington or mispronounces it or something.
Possibly along the way, but
It's just because of
come
that.
from that.
Yeah. because Jack Skellington was made, and it became such a popular, figurehead that he is a skeleton, and everyone just kind of assumed that that's the word. It isn't the word, but the Oogie Boogie character, Sally, the mare, the dog. I'm pointing behind Cuba because I've literally got a poster of it on my room. I just think they're magical. I think you have to let this film take you with it because it nails atmosphere perfectly. And not only that, but there has to be a huge amount of respect to any stop motion film, I think, and Touchstone do a really, really good job here. It's like Wallace and Gromit. Wallace and Gromit is always on at Christmas, but none of them are really Christmas films. But I still would prefer to watch them at Christmas any of the other time. And you've got to have real respect for every single one of them because they take fucking forever.
Yeah.
It's also a perfect length as well. This is my problem with Love Actually. It's long, man.
I mean, how many? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, what, 6 stories?
6 stories in it.
So.
Thompson, Big Knob, Keira Knightley, Hugh Jackman, Hugh Grant. That'd be very different. One day more. Yes, 6. Christ, yeah, no wonder.
This isn't so.
Yeah. I mean, the point where it's lost to me is that some of the stories are wrapped up. Like the Laura Linney story is wrapped up, and then we get a section about the kid wanting to play the drums. And that takes another 30 minutes. And I'm kind of like, I'm just sort of testing my patience from here and in. But it's just, the thing is, all of them individually are like, nice, sweet stories. It's just slightly too long. But I back to Love, I do like the ridiculousness of the Prime Minister turning up at someone's house and being like, "Terribly sorry, is my secretary in?" But yeah, with this is 76 minutes. And I think
it's tight.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense that it's short, and most of the Wallace and Gromit films are shorter because, the amount of time that goes into making them.
Yeah.
But I just think I could watch this literally any day in Christmas and it'll make it better.
I've actually never watched it.
Cubes!
It's a blow, but...
It is a blow. You need to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
This is now the big one. This is now where people are going to judge you horrendously and you're going to get a torrent of abuse. You're not going to get a torrent of abuse. There's 4 people that listen to this podcast. What is
Wherever you are, try me.
What is your favourite Christmas film, Jakub Mis?
Die Hard.
Wow, okay.
It's my favourite Christmas
Bruce
film.
Willis is a ghost. Spoiler. Okay. Interesting. Talk to me about Die Hard then.
It's controversial among the Christmas film canon, mainly for the fact that it's Bruce Willis murdering a bunch of would-be bank robbers, I think. It's just Alan Rickman. That's it. He puts in a fantastic performance as the villain Hans Gruber, which is why I like it. It's memorable. It's got loads of quotes that I use to this day, and it's a feel-good story at the end. It's classic American.
It's a feel-good story after everyone has been absolutely massacred.
Yeah, but it's...
Did you say it's American?
It's one man. It's the story of the Second Amendment brought into practice. One man, an off-duty policeman, gets a gun and he kills a bunch of people. If there's name me something more American.
I can try. It's not quite maybe more American, but there is a film called Christmas Sleigh.
Oh God, don't.
Yeah, that's not a yassified film. That's the name of the film. Okay. And I can't remember if that's a standalone film or if that's a parody film within another film.
Yeah.
But the tagline of it is, "He knows if you've been bad or good, and he's got an axe."
Oh well,
that's so funny. It's so funny to me. But yes, it's a very You see, this is funny, because I when I saw it, I thought Home Alone. I thought that is the American Christmas. To me, that's what the American Christmas looks like. I mean, in a wealthy family, obviously, but
fundamentally, I think Home Alone and Die Hard are quite similar films when you come down to it. As in, it's one man, one child, in the case of Home Alone, competing against overwhelming odds, using the means available to him to overcome those odds.
I forgot that bit where Kevin went out into the porch with an MP5 and decided to try and eradicate Joe Pesci from existence.
The means are different, but the ends are ultimately the same. Although John McClane hasn't been left behind to go to their holiday to the French or wherever the bloody hell they go to. But it's it's a fun film. It's a fun film.
It is a fun film, and it's one of the few Christmas action films that actually pays off.
Yeah.
Film out at the minute called Violent Night with
David Harbour.
David Harbour. And it's sort of, largely it's kind of just like, it's all been done before. But I think Die Hard was a real champion of actually sort of doing that kind of genre properly.
Yeah.
I like Die Hard. I think it's a fun film. I think that actually it's quite well made. Mm-hmm. It's quite funny to see lots of shooty happening in Christmas hats.
Yes.
You know? I think the thing about Die Hard is it took on a role that I didn't think it was expected to take on, which is that you can make a film around Christmas or set at Christmas or a Christmas film, which isn't just your typical, family story about then there can be peace. But instead you can go around murking a bunch of people and then sit down and have a whiskey and that can be Christmas.
Yeah. In many ways, it's the antithesis of peace and goodwill to all men, but it works. It works. And
death and lead to all men. It is the story of the American. Okay, mine's quite a different tone to yours.
Is it?
Yeah, I think mine. I mean, if you've ever had the displeasure of reading my blog, and blog is a strong word because that is now lost to the depths of time in a syndrome I can only call I'm not writing more f***ing essays. The strapline of it is, if I can call it a strapline, individual opinions on a subjective medium, and Christmas films are that encapsulated. But I think mine might shock people because, number one, it's relatively new.
Aye.
Number two, it is primarily just a family film, and number three, it's not got incredible critical acclaim or anything like that. It's Arthur Christmas.
What a left field pick!
It is a left field pick.
Of all the Christmas animated films, Arthur Christmas, like, surely you'd go for Klaus, something that is a fantastic film.
Yeah, it is, but you see, if you're talking here about cult classics, this is a Don Bajoria cult classic, in that I saw this in a very excitable period in my life when Christmas was still like the ghost. It's an Aardman film, right, which already gives you green lights. So it looks spectacular. There's a distinctive set of characters. The concept of the film is actually quite cleverly devised in that it's like a modern take on the classic Christmas story. But Christmas is run in an almost Amazon-esque manner with a huge factory in the North Pole, working at its most efficient, a bit of Benthamite philosophy there, to ensure that every child gets a present from Santa. And there's a colossal team of elves working 24/7 in the run-up to Christmas to make certain every kid gets what they want and they're happy. And all is going well after Santa, who's called Malcolm Claus, and is played, of course, it's a British film, is played by Jim Broadbent. He completes his 70th Christmas Eve. However, a mishap in Poland results in the loss of one child's present from the S1 spaceship. Malcolm gives this big celebratory speech to his elves at the end of the mission, unaware of the incident, and then he says he looks forward to his 71st mission, something his son Steve Claus, who is Hugh Laurie, he resents that because he felt it was his time to become a Santa and Malcolm should step back. But after a squabble at the dinner table and alert that Bryony Sheffley, who is played by Ashley Jensen again, so she's appearing in my list quite a lot, that elf, she's found the lost toy. And Steve, in a fantastically traditional businessman-like way, claims this error to be, acceptable given the billions of presents successfully delivered. But Arthur, who's played by James McAvoy, and is extremely English, I will say, so you kind of don't know it's him. He's got a personal connection because the toy is due in Trelew in England for a little girl named Gwen, whose letter Arthur had personally responded to. And so Arthur is incensed by the apathy of Steve and Malcolm towards the toy, and so he and Grand Santa, Bill Nighy, yeah boy, who actually genuinely disappears in this role, I told you the cast was good, they embark to give the present back. It's a wonderfully told story, it's clever, it's funny, there's genuine laugh out loud moments. Like there's a moment where the sleigh crashes that Grand Santa and Arthur are on.
Yeah.
And they're in the middle of the desert. And Arthur gets depressed and leaves Grand Santa because he's sick of his antics or whatever. He's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. So he just leaves Grand Santa there in the middle of the desert and he goes, at least finish me off with a rock. And I just think the film takes you on a really, really sweet journey. I mean, it's aimed at proving the values of Christmas should always remain heartfelt and not commercial. Yeah. I think that's why I like it so much, because I get really sort of incensed by the commercialization of everything in December. It really bugs me.
Or November.
Or October, or in fact half of September now. It's August, I'll buy some wrapping paper. I think the fact that this is a focus on joy and delivering the right amount of joy in a world where, that's kind of sparse, means quite a lot, I think. The film ends with the present delivered just in time to see Arthur become Santa Claus. So it's also a film about succession and lineage, but also they have a sort of Christmas card recap of the characters in the film, where they are, and each card ends with a line of "they are happy," and then there's another one that says "they are happy," which it's a touch on the nose, but it finalises the film's focus on joy and happiness and working hard to make sure everyone feels warm. Sarah Smith, she directed and wrote the film, and I think she spent over 2 years on it, so that paid off, because it got nominations at BAFTAs and Golden Globes. I mean, Golden Globes don't matter, but it got nominations for Best Animated Feature. Honestly, the Golden Globes, man, we're not even going to talk about. I know we're approaching award season, but it's just going to be like Best Actor, Jared Leto, and I'm going to be like, oh no, but
so you just watch it for Ricky Gervais.
Well, you would watch it for Ricky Gervais, but he sacked it off. Yeah, this has 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I hate Rotten Tomatoes because they always get it wrong. But the fact that they're so popular on there is a good sign, I think.
It's a good film. It's feel good. It's got all the qualities you want in the Christmas film, in addition to being a genuinely good film outright. Yeah. As in, you could, well, I'm not suggesting you watch Arthur Christmas in June, but you could, and it would be nice.
Yeah. I mean, it would leave you feeling Christmassy. Again, it's about 90 minutes long, so good length. And it was slightly embarrassing that I have such a good time watching it as a bordering 20-year-old, but I think that kind of says it all, because the best kids films are the ones that adults love as well. Yeah, you've got, excluding It's a Wonderful Life, this is the film that I think sums up Christmas the best.
It's a very different sort of tone. My number one and your number one.
Yeah, slightly. We've gone from literal homicidal revenge.
It's not so much as revenge, just as, he's got to save his wife from Nakatomi Plaza.
I mean, that is yeah.
It's the means that he didn't choose them to burglarize Nakatomi Plaza at the time. He's just a proud American citizen doing his constitutional job and killing German people.
It's a historical film.
Also, funny enough, it's another one of those Christmas films that has a different name in continental Europe.
It's not called it's not called like Solid Death or something in Poland, is it?
In Poland, it's called Szkłana Pułapka, which means the glass trap. Which,
sorry,
it's, hang on, I think it's called that.
The glass trap.
The glass trap, which sort of works for the first one. Him walking over the glass. But the second one is and the third one are also called the glass trap.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody in the depths of Warsaw saw that it had glass. I thought, might as well call it that, and then didn't think about the second and the third. Like, it's too late to change it now.
The overseas renaming of films is one of the things that I find so funny. Like, they do it with TV shows, but sometimes they just get it wrong. I think there was I can't remember if it was, I think it might have been a North Korean news article or something about Boris Johnson, about his rise to power. Yeah. And they said that he once presented "Did I Tell You" news. Oh, God. I just thought it was perfect. I thought it was so funny. But yeah, I think we should find like a collation of the best things. You know what? I'm going to Google it now. The funniest renamings of films across the globe.
There is, like Home Alone. I think the French renaming of that is fairly odd, from what I remember. Okay. I can't quite. I don't know what it is, but
I mean, if we're going to talk about renamings of films, Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. What is a philosopher too grand a concept for Americans?
Americans are stupid. They don't know what a philosopher is.
Weirdest international film renamings. Lost in translation. The strange art of renaming movies. Some films, yeah.
What?
Some films are so iconic that their titles work in any language. In Italy, Vito Corleone is Il Padrino. In France, he's Le Parrain. And in Poland, he's...
Ojciec Chrzestny.
Yeah.
Chrzestny,
Or Chrzestny. Once a Godfather, always a Godfather. Some titles don't need translating, like Star Wars. Take Die Hard, here we go. The Germans took a more literal approach naming the film. The German title, Stirb langsam, means die slowly. But in French it became Piège di Cristal. In Italy it was Trappola di Cristallo. And in Polish it was...
Szklana pułapka.
Szklana pułapka.
See? I haven't been talking out of my arse.
I didn't expect you to be, but that is just weird. Sequels are often a problem.
Yes.
In Poland, for example, all of the subsequent Die Hards use the title Glass Trap, even though John McClane wasn't confined to a skyscraper anymore. In the 90s, the Italians redubbed Home Alone as Mamma ho perso l'aereo, which means, Mum, I missed the plane. When the second film saw Macaulay Culkin getting lost in New York City, the title became Mamma ho perso l'aereo, mi sono smarrito a New York. Mum, I missed the plane again, and now I'm lost in New York.
It's not snappy.
I mean, it's scary, yeah. You're going to drag the audience in.
Tells the story.
The Hangover, rechristened Very Bad Trip in French. Oh, they can't have the word sex.
Can they not?
So, hang on. Quite often the new French title... Oh, they do involve the word sex in French. So No Strings Attached becomes more straightforward Sex Friends. Step Up becomes the Sexy Dance franchise. And Wild Things becomes Sex Crimes. Why have I never read this before?
Hang on. Dirty Dancing in Polish is called Wyrujący Sex.
Twirling Sex. Monty Python and the Holy Grail becomes Die Ritter de Coconus, Knights of the Coconuts in Germany. While some Spanish-speaking countries, the Disney classic 101 Dalmatians is translated as La Noche de las Narices Frias, the Night of the Cold Noses.
Like, Wyrujący, you could translate it as twirling, but it can also mean fantastic. So potentially Dirty Dancing becomes fantastic sex.
What an international world we live in. Okay, so there's several films that we haven't spoken about.
Discussed, yeah.
Like The Grinch or The Muppets Christmas Carol.
These are, I mean, they're all good movies. They're just...
The Santa Claus. I have a problem with The Santa Claus.
Why?
Fundamentally. So, the whole premise of the film is that a father and his son are failing to bond, and they kind of refuse to do so.
Ignore
There's news. Poland refused to broadcast Home Alone.
Ignore that.
Yeah, the boy and his father are refusing to bond.
Yeah.
And then his dad becomes literal Santa, and suddenly he's interested.
It's not a great message.
It's a terrible message.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Do you like Elf?
This is going to... Not really.
No, it's not funny. No. It's not funny. And this is the problem when people say don't deconstruct films. Right. If a kid's film, which obviously is never going to be a cinematic masterpiece unless it's Tim Burton, in which case it is. If it is trying to be sweet and funny,
yeah,
and it is not funny,
then it's...
and I'm annoyed by the main character, you have failed in what you are presenting me.
Yeah.
I saw Matilda the other night. I thought largely it was very good, and that, you know, the numbers looked great, and, you know, it was well acted. Lashana Lynch was very sweet, very moving. Emma Thompson was funny when she was acting, less good when she was singing. But the problem with that film, and the reason I had a couple of issues with it, instead of just going in and thinking, oh, that was wonderful, I really enjoyed that, it is just Matilda again, and I've already seen that in three different iterations, the book, the film, and the play, all of which I've now seen. And so it needed to do something new, and the only thing it did do was a different screenplay, of which some of the lines were a bit shaky, and the child acting was quite annoying. So I had...
Slight reworkings of the songs as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's something I didn't mention, actually, when I was telling you about it. There is a line in The Smell of Rebellion, where Miss Trunchbull goes off into a fantasy world, and she is imagining a woods with a cottage, and inside that cottage we find a dwarf called Zeke, a carnival freak. who can fold paper hats with his mind. And they say, don't let him steal your horses, and then she goes mad. But in the film, I was quite surprised to see the way they've got it is they've got Emma Thompson crawling through some sort of army training unit, which she uses for phys ed. They've hammed up the phys ed bit, which is quite funny. But she gets to that line, and I was astounded to hear that imagine a woods with a cottage, and inside that cottage we find a parrot called Zeke.
Interesting. Of all the changes,
Is dwarf not allowed in a kids' film, or is it not allowed in any film?
Wasn't in the first Matilda Danny DeVito, and
Yes.
he is a dwarf.
Yeah.
So I just make it make sense.
Do you reckon they casted Stephen Graham as a sort of a nod to short people?
I mean, the character in the book, the father, is described as incredibly short.
Yeah, he is, to be fair. Well, anyway, but that's just things like it can be a funny, silly film, but still be subject to scrutiny. I mean, you kind of have to when people make a lot of money off this, because if they keep going, Die Hard 12 or Fast and Furious 68, Tokyo Swaz or whatever it's called, like look, Christmas films are very, very subjective. They're about what you grew up on. They're about what chimes with your life. Some people like The Holiday. I think it's garbage.
We can all agree that Nativity 3 is an abomination.
Nativity 3 is an abomination. I was going to come on to this, actually, because your Die Hard sequels, I think anything beyond... how many are there? 4?
There's like... Hang on, there's 2. There's the one where he goes on a street corner and Samuel Jackson tells him...
Oh, God, I forgot about that!
He should not be here.
No.
Bloody millions of them.
Films are there? 36, counted them myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7?
7. If you count McLean, which is, Die Hard 7 is called McLean. We've got Tough Nut.
What?
1967. Is that the original?
Can't
That
be.
the one that the original's based off? It must be.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know it
Tough
was...
Nut, also known as Die Hard by some English speakers due to the name of the title in Russia, is a 1967 Soviet comedy war film by the director Fyodor Volvovich. The film's main title is a poll, and the word nut in Russian as the lead character's name is Oreshkina. Good joke. I think this is what Die Hard was based off.
So the classic American story is
It's
actually
Russian.
something nicked.
Is there a more fitting message?
Oh, God.
Thank God Poland didn't choose this film as their symbol of Western freedom.
Oh, God.
I'm aiming to get one more pod out before the new year, hopefully with more than one guest at once, so we can have a big chat about the best films of the year. So I'm aiming to see you then. The schedule has become somewhat irregular, I think it's safe to say. The Real Life Podcast, whenever, with me. Kuba, thank you very much for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
This has been a successful chat, I think, and I have respect for your list of films.
Thank you. As do I for yours.
Thank you very much. We could have had an argument, but end of the day, everybody's very happy, and that's what Christmas is all about. I will end on one thing. There is a film, and I can't remember what it is called for the life of me, which is terrible. But do some Googling about chimney Christmas film, and I think you'll find it. The story is that a mum and a daughter are waiting for their father on Christmas Eve, and he doesn't come home. And they start to get very worried, and Christmas Day goes by, the full thing, they're waiting for him, he doesn't come back. And Boxing Day goes by, the full thing, they're waiting for him, he doesn't come back. And I think it's about a week that goes by before they realise there's a strange smell coming from the house. And what had happened was the dad had dressed up as Santa Claus on Christmas Eve and got slightly merry buried, and was aiming to do a nice little performance, nice little trick for the kids where, as dressed up as Santa Claus, he would come down the chimney and give them the presents. However, what he brought to that was he was very drunk. And so, in trying to climb down the chimney, he tripped and broke his neck and died immediately. However, the problem was given that he was stuck in the chimney, it was also winter, and so the fire needed to be on. And so they slowly cooked their dad over the course of the Christmas period.
What a nice message to end this real life podcast on. A man cooked as he attempted to bring the presents, the gifts, to his kids.
And I think that's a lesson we can all learn.
Don't cook on the chimney.
Don't get so pissed that you think the chimney is a viable entrance option.
Words to live by.
They'll be on my gravestone. Thanks. Merry Christmas. Bye.